All right, we had extremely close victories for the Michigan Wolverines, both in football and in basketball over the weekend. And we're going to talk about both of those on this show and how they are making they're wasting no time making changes, both with the football team and with the basketball team. We're going to talk about both of those in this video. Before we get into that, if you are new, my name is Craig. So happy to be here with all of you listening. If you have yet to subscribe to this video or this channel, go ahead, take a listen. If you like what I'm saying, hit the subscribe button. If you don't, go on to something else, but would love to be one of your go-to sources for Michigan football and Michigan basketball. So let's go ahead and let's talk about it. For the Michigan Wolverines in football first, we're going to start with football. We'll talk about a couple of takeaways I had with Sherrone Moore. I got more on that in a minute. They're making what is seemingly a small change that can lead to a big change. Sherrone Moore has said that we now have a new punt returner, and it actually happened. They wasted so little time. It actually happened in the middle of the game. And Andrew Marsh is going to be the new punt returner for this team going forward. Samaj Morgan has a fumble. He has a muffed punt. In 13 returns, he has just 30 yards returning. Andrew Marsh had one return for 12 yards already this past week. Do I worry a little bit about a true freshman in the punt return game, especially when he seems to be 75% of our passing offense right now? I do worry about that. But our special teams have been an absolute disaster this year. It has been a disaster. And if you can find ways to make a change to our special teams so that our special teams can go from being a significant disadvantage to possibly being an advantage in an area or two, I am for it. And it is something that needs to change. There were many times where Samaj Morgan just would let the ball bounce. He would let it drop, and we'd lose an extra 10, 15, 20 yards on it. There were other times where he caught it with tons of space to run, and he'd fair catch it. There were other times where he had a ton of space to run, but somehow he only got 4 yards, 3 yards. Like, it has been a really, really rough year for Samaj Morgan, which is unfortunate because I feel like we all thought that there was a lot of talent in him as a freshman, and it's just not working out so far. But we have been shown that a wide receiver can thrive in this offense under Chip Lindsey with Andrew Marsh going off on the offensive end, and let's hope that he can show some of that as well. Now, I don't know where you are on the hey, this is bad coaching versus this is a young team front, but our head coach Sherrone Moore had something to say about it, and here's what he had to say. And it's not going to show up. Oh, yeah, there it is. All right. It says we're 8-2. All of our goals are in front of us. We're playing for a lot. All right. He said you're playing meaningful football in November, which is what you ask for as a football coach, as a college football player, just any player in general in this game. And when you're in November and you're playing for something, that means a lot, especially with a young football team. You go out there with 6 freshmen on offense and a bevy of them on defense and special teams. Yeah, the mistakes are there. We've got to fix that, but you're also very blessed to be able to be in the position of being 8-2. He went on to talk about how he had to self-reflect. We're going to read that in a second, but I want to talk about this too. I do agree. We are blessed to be able to watch meaningful football in November. It was a meaningful game against Northwestern. This is a meaningful game against Maryland. Do not call it a trap game, by the way. And obviously, it's going to be a meaningful game against Ohio State. That game is meaningful whether you're 7-5, 6-5 like we were going into it last year, or hopefully 9-2 with the NCAA playoff berth on the line. Yes, I get it. Like, I want to play meaningful football in November. However, I do have to wonder, is this young players or coaching? You can't say Zavada, our kicker, is a young player making the same mistakes he made every year. No, he's not. He's making new mistakes. He's a worse kicker this year. You can't say that Samaj Morgan is a young player making the same mistakes. Look, he's always had a little trouble with drops, but this year, oh my goodness, right? I would say the only unit that I have seen improve throughout the course of the year, consistent improvement, is the offensive line. And I would honestly say, yeah, maybe defensive line and linebackers, right? But there are still a ton of mistakes out of our quarterback, out of our wide receivers. So there are some things that have to change. I don't know if it's just all youth, but here's what Sherrone Moore had to say. He said, but yeah, you've got to self-reflect and look at everything you're doing and make sure that you're doing everything right. Offensively, you talk about where we are, and obviously the turnovers. You've got to clean up. The kids have already been in many times throughout yesterday, today, to watch the film, evaluate the film. The coaches have attacked that. They'll do it again later on here today. Everybody's very aware of what we need to fix and what we need to do, but there's a lot of positives in the game. I actually tend to agree with him on this. And I think that there were way more positives in the Northwestern game than there were negatives. I do. I thought we spent the majority of the game being a dominant football team, but we had 5 turnovers. Against Ohio State, we have to play at that high level of dominance without turnovers. Probably not even one. And the real question is, can we find a way to do that? Because as much as I hate to say this, Matt Patricia is going to dial up a really crazy defense that's going to mess with a freshman quarterback. So I think you're going to see a lot of him running. But get healthy running backs. We'll see what can happen. This Maryland game is going to be tough. Another good freshman quarterback coming at us. But also, if I'm being completely honest, I'm a little nervous about what we have going at running back. All right, let's go ahead and switch over to the basketball side of what changes we're making. Michigan is 3-0, and they absolutely pummeled Oakland, but then had really tight games that weren't really expected to be as tight of games after that against Wake Forest and against TCU. And it's good to go on the road and get a victory in a hostile environment like it was at TCU. But here's what Dusty May said is the solution. He said, we have to find a way to get Yaxel Lindenberg, all right, in space better, and he has to trust his jump shot more. I will admit, when Yaxel was shooting 3-pointers against Oakland, there was no hesitation. In the last couple games, there were. He said he's a good shooter that is not trusting his 3-point shot. When he's open, he needs to shoot it. But when you look at our big possessions, our dunks and layups and wide open shots, he had a big role in it. All right. When you look at the cuts to the baskets, it usually started with a quick swing from Yaxel to Roddy, a quick drive. Then our spacing was good and our cutting was good. So just finding different ways. He just wants to play good basketball. Look, he's only averaging 23 minutes. He's only averaging 12 points. Not nearly what we would expect of him. I would expect him to get going even more as the season continues to go on. He had that hand thing that I'm sure messed with some of the chemistry and things like that. I hear what Dusty May is saying. And when it comes to Yaxel Lindenberg, look, we don't have a ton of just knockdown shooters on this team. That's going to be the one thing that could hold this team back. So even if you're a 32% shooter, 33, 34% shooter from 3-point range, like Yaxel might be over the course of the year, you still got to shoot it when you're open. You have to. It opens up the floor for everybody else. And Yaxel's gravity is already pretty big. People are drawn to him because he does good things, but it is fun to watch him play. He is a much more well-rounded player than I knew coming in. But it is fun to watch him. Excited to see what he can do. Got to trust that shot, though. All right, thanks for watching. Wasting no time making changes. Hey, the programs are still in good position. 8-2 football team. Undefeated basketball team, only 3 in. We'll see what they look like when the competition gets even better. All right, thanks for watching. See you on the next one.